annual evaluation.
Yeah. You want this turned in, Ally? You want this turned in tonight?
5 minutes.
Not tonight,
after
no.
tonight's meeting.
Huh?
Not
If you
tonight.
want to, you can turn it in tonight.
It doesn't have to be, but I just did a printout just to make it easier. If you know, everybody has their own preferences.
Yeah, I'll bring it down.
Okay, I know you will.
Are we ready?
All right, we are all set.
I would like to call the meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Juan Gonzalez,
Here.
Craig Leggett,
Here.
Jenny Sullivan,
Here.
Tim Robinson,
Here.
Dave O'Brien.
Here,
We have a quorum. We have 6 out of 10.
okay. We will have a new board member. Tricia Rogers was approved by both counties, so she will be coming on board in January. She had some other things she had to wind down, so good for her. Glad to have her aboard. I think she will provide us a more general overall business environment of what's going on in both counties. And probably in tune more with what's going on a day-to-day basis, a lot of the businesses and what's coming in.
Good.
So I need a motion to approve the minutes of the October 18th meeting, October 16th meeting.
Sorry.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Juan, do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the minutes of the October 16, 2023 Audit and Finance Committee meeting. You aren't on the Audit and Finance Committee. Should be Jenny. Do I have a second? Craig? All those on the Audit and Finance Committee are in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, I want to move to the seeker. Do you want to give an overview, Chris, or?
Happy to.
Okay.
LaBelle Associates assisted the IDA with the seeker compliance back in September. We had prepared a full environmental assessment form, and that full environmental assessment form evaluated the impacts of extension and provision of water and sewer to the Canal Side Energy Park. And as part of that exercise, we did a series of supporting studies, cultural resource, historic resource investigation, wetlands evaluation, endangered species evaluation, and the IDA sought lead agency back in September. And in seeking lead agency, they circulated the environmental assessment form to involved and interested agencies, and involved agencies are any agency that might be issuing a permit associated with the project. 30 days transpired, and we received responses from 3 of the involved agencies, and they consented to the IDA as the lead agency. Those who do not respond, the 30-day time clock expires, and they acquiesce lead agency status to the IDA. And then subsequently, we prepared what you have in front of you is part 1 of the environmental assessment form with those supporting studies. We subsequently prepared a draft part 2, and the part 2 is evaluation of impacts. And on that list, you'll see the form looks at resource areas one by one and asks a question of whether you will have an impact to that resource. And you as a lead agency are responsible for completing that form. We've prepared it on your behalf. But we think this is a relatively simple project in scale and in potential impact on the environment. It's a relatively modest construction project to provide water and sewer. It is excavation and installation of pipe, force main, burial of that pipe. Sometimes that installation is by directional drill, and at the end of the day, everything's going to be restored to its original state. So it's pretty minor. In some instances, projects like this could be categorized as type 2, not requiring environmental review because it's either replacement in kind or considered a maintenance activity. So in front of you, and you have a draft resolution. You have part 2 of the EAF, a draft resolution which acknowledges your lead agency role, and then subsequently adopts a secret negative declaration. And in review of the part 2, you check yes or no. There's a no yes or no questions. That's been done for you. You should review that. And I assume board members have reviewed it. And the resolution would acknowledge that there's no adverse effect on the environment as a result of this project. And at the end of the day, a negative declaration, the resolution would allow you to adopt a negative declaration. And what that means is that you do not have to prepare an environmental impact statement. And so that's the long and short of it. It's probably the long of it, but happy to answer any questions.
I do have a question, and I think it's important.
Chris, can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Can
very
you
good.
hear me?
Yeah.
I'm looking at all of the votes of no or yes, and all of them are checked as the main yes or no. But on the very first one, it says impact of land on land, and we check yes. Underneath it, in a discussion of why, we vote all no. That's okay, except all the rest of them are voted no, but there's nothing underneath it to show that we voted no for those, unless we want to vote yes for those. I just think this is, I don't know, nobody really looks at these, I don't think, but I don't think this is right.
Well,
I asked our attorney.
okay, go ahead.
Well, you answer the bolded questions that are numbered.
Yes.
And so if you answer yes, then you're required to complete the items below that are lettered. If you answer no, then you move on to the next numbered section.
But the yes answers are not followed by why. We
So
don't check why we voted yes here. We don't, for example, A says proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet. Well, then if you really believe what we said, we should get both that yes. I mean, I just don't want to put this form in and think that it's a piece of junk.
Well, Nick, another look at this. Go ahead, Chris.
Chris? Your turn.
I was going to say, so all land development activities by their nature have an impact, any physical disturbance of land. That's why we check yes. And so this project in a simple form is, hey, we're going to do excavation. That's an impact on land. It does not trigger any of the other answers below that as yeses, or it does say no or small in all instances. It does not say large, so we didn't feel that any of the subcategories or example, felt that you should check, yes or large. If we were to check yes or large on one of those, we would explain it, and so that we, hey, to your point, hey, we're going to be excavating in an area that has a shallow depth to groundwater, 2 feet, and we would explain that. In this instance, none of those were triggered, and therefore we did not include any further narratives.
That's an answer, so I'll take it as an answer. I don't buy it, but that's all
but
right.
when you start evaluating the A through the lettered items below, you're answering a question as to whether that particular action would have a small or no impact, a negative impact on the environment. So it's not necessarily to answer that question, no impact or a significant impact, versus to answer the specifics. There's no question.
I yield. It's not a big deal. Goodbye.
Okay. So, all set, Chris?
I'm good.
Juan?
Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us. Juan Gonzalez. 3 quick questions, if I may. You mentioned involved interested parties. How many of those parties did we send letters to? Exactly.
How many did we issue letters to?
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't know if
Let's say 10 or
I have
12.
it, Chris.
your administrator did the actual mailing. Yeah.
there's 10 different groups listed here.
10 groups, and you said 3 of those agencies responded, they agreed. What were the name of those 3 agencies?
Canal Corp,
No, DOT, DEC, and Washington County Sewer District.
And just a third quick question on just, as this happened in September and we're in late November, we're well past 30 days. And if somebody sent the letter on the 30th day, we had plenty of time to receive that letter. Is that a correct statement, accurate statement?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you so much, Chris, for your time. And I do appreciate you joining.
okay, let's get into the part 2. First question, number 1 is impact on land. Proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. The answer is yes, it does. Even putting a shovel in the ground, 1 shovelful is impacting the land. Proposed act, so now we have to answer all the other questions. Proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet. No. Proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater. The answer is no. Proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface. Answer to that is no. Proposed action may involve the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. No. Proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. No. The proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal, including from treatment by herbicides. No. Proposed action is or may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area. The answer is no. On number 2, describing the impact on geological features. Proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to or any unique or unusual landforms on the e.g. cliffs, dunes, mineral fossils, caves. The answer to that is no. Therefore, we can skip to item number 3. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect 1 or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, e.g. streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes. It references the parts to look at. The answer to that is no. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action is number 4. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. See part 1, D-2-A, D-2-C, D-2-D, D-2-P, D-2-Q, and D-2-T. So those references are all no. The answer are no. Impact on flooding. Proposed action may result in development of lands subject to flooding. See part 1E.2. And the answer to impact on flooding is no. Number 6. Thank you for answering these no, Chris. I appreciate it. Impacts on air. Proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. See part 1D.2-F. D.2-H and D-2-G is no. So we proceed to item 7. Impacts on plants and animals. Proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. See part 1, E.2.M through Q. The answer to all is no. Impact on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact agricultural resources. See part 1, E.3-A and B. The answer is no, so we can skip to item 9. The impact on aesthetic resources, the land use of the proposed action are obviously different forms or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. Part 1, E.1.A, E.1.B, E.3-H. Answer to those were no, so we proceed to the no and proceed to item 10. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. Part 1, E.3.E, F. and G. The answer is no, so we proceed on to 11. Impact on open source and recreation. Proposed action may result in a loss of recreation resources or retention of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space land. See Part 1, C.2-C, E.1.C, E.2.Q. And the answer to all is no. Impact on critical environmental areas. Proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area, CEA. See Part 1.E.3.D. The answer is no, so we can jump to 13. Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation system. See Part 1.D.2-J or .J. The answer is no. Impact on energy. It's getting to me right now. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. See Part 1.D.2-K. No. And we jump to 15. Impact on noise, odor, and light. Proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. See Part 1.D.2.M and N and O. The answer is no. Impact on human health. Proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. See Part 1.D.2.Q, E.1.D, F, G, and H. It's just a no. Well, if anyone had to say, talk about all these questions, it would have an impact on human health.
Right.
Drive us nuts. Consistency with community plans. This proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. See Part 1.C.1, C.2, and C.3. The answer is no. We jump to 18. Consistent with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. See Part 1, C.2, C.3, D.2, and E.3. The answer is no. So that concludes Part 2. And this wasn't just someone sitting around just making up these answers. This is a result of hundreds of $1,000s in studies that were done to come up with these answers. So it wasn't just Chris throwing dartboards at the questions.
So
What?
well, who did there's a question here about geological features and those kinds of things.
We did archaeological
Who
studies.
did all that work?
It was all done by Labella or subcontractors,
Okay,
skilled in their trades.
and what was the other one I saw that could possibly be that? Geological features.
It was all done by Labella, and Chris could probably give you the names of the people that did it. It was all done by subcontractors or Labella staff.
Okay,
They're professional engineers.
Yeah.
So. All right, so I gotta do the same with Part 3, correct?
Part 3 is the resolution that they provided.
This is the full environmental assessment form.
Right, but there's no contingent, there's no conditions.
Okay,
Yeah, so
now we have in front of us a resolution.
I was gonna say just the resolution is your next course of business.
Okay, so we have a resolution was sent out, basically calls this a negative deck. So not affected by any of those factors. Any questions?
None.
I'll entertain a motion to move this resolution.
I'll make that.
Motion by Juan, second by Brian. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
his question.
who has a question?
It's
Craig.
just on the draft resolution, the last be it resolved has an extra A in there between the EAF and negative. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
There's one other one. Voice correction, you found another?
Yeah. Before that, it says the paragraph above that, the WWIDA finds the project will not any significant adverse
Yeah, I
environmental.
saw that too.
You'd say have.
Perfect. For those, yep, I'm all good.
Okay, with the changes, I call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
All right,
We'll be talking.
very
Hope you-
good. Thank
hope
you.
Everything's well at home.
Very good. Thank you.
So treasurer,
Mr. Chairman, we have Mr. Scott on the line. Do you want to jump into that? Oh,
yeah, I suppose. Good thing he's not charging us for his time. Any comments on the remarketing agent resolution that Joe wants to make before we adopt it?
Well, Chair, I'm more than happy to give a brief summary of the resolution and some background for information purposes to make sure that the board understands what's being requested. But if there's no questions or concerns, I'm certainly comfortable not talking also. So it's up to the courtesy or up to the sense of the board.
We have a request for you to do so. Thank you.
So we'll do. I'm going to assume that you all have the resolution in front of you, and I'm going to go to the meat of the resolution, which is on page 2, the second full whereas paragraph, which describes back in 2000, the IDA issued bonds in the original principal amount of $18,405,000 for a project in the town of Queensbury. That bond financing was structured as a variable interest rate bond, and the mechanism with respect to the change in the interest rate was tied to a financial institution, originally BC Ziegler, remarketing the bonds at fixed periodic terms. And when they remarketed the bonds, typically there was a different interest rate, and that's how the bonds were, how the interest rate on the bonds were determined. And obviously, the project applicant paid the principal and paid the interest based on that variable interest rate. Subsequent to the closing, the remarketing agent, BC Ziegler, was replaced by M&T Bank. M&T Bank is now getting out of the remarketing agent business, and Glenn at Highland has asked for a substitution of M&T Bank with Stern Brothers and Co. And that request is attached to the end of the resolution in Exhibit A, which demonstrates the email that went to the IDA office requesting action by the IDA to consent to this substitution. Under the bond documents, the IDA is one of the consenting parties. We've handled several of these substitutions over the last 6 to 8 months, because as you can imagine, during that time period, there was a number of variable rate bonds issued by various IDAs, and they had the same or relatively same structure, and M&T is getting out of the remarketing agent business on all of these transactions. So there's a number of substitutions, if you will. So what we have done is prepared a resolution for consideration by the board, but the issue that I'd like to make clear to the board members is that the company has consented to this substitution, and they're the ones that are paying for the remarketing agent, and the letter of credit bank, who is securing the bond issue, which is M&T Bank, they're not getting out of that business, has consented to this. So we're the last party, and we typically require that because we want to be last in line, because we have, frankly, the most nominal interest in this situation. So the resolution is intended to satisfy a condition in the documents. There's no obligation on the part of the IDA. We do have provisions in here for the payment of an IDA administrative fee if that's the desire of the board. And again, I would describe this as an administrative action. There's no change in the project. There's no change in the bond issue other than the ordering of the professionals involved in the transaction. And with that, I'll open it up for any comments or questions.
A lot of change going on. Wow, getting out of business, getting into it.
So if you're involved in many of these, is the IDA admin fee, is that a normal thing that is requested? Or,
To be honest, well, not to be honest, I hate it when people say that, to be honest, because that suggests that maybe you're not always being honest. Our experience with other transactions is that because it's such a nominal action and the IDA typically hasn't done any work, any real work with respect to the matter, our experience has been that the other IDAs that we've been involved in have not charged a post-closing fee for this action.
Legal fees? Do we have legal fees covered?
Karen, do you have legal fees?
We will certainly have legal fees, but the Glenn and Highland and or Stern Brothers will be paying those, not the IDA. We won't be submitting a bill to the IDA. And if Kara has a bill, we will certainly submit that to them on her behalf, and certainly won't deliver any papers until the fees are paid.
Thank you.
The door was open.
It looks like they don't have a bill this year. Yeah,
Do we have a motion on this already?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Juan, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, we have to have a roll call on this one.
So we won't be liable if any of this stuff goes wrong between these two groups, right?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Juan Gonzalez,
Yes.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Ginny Sullivan,
Yes.
Tim Robinson,
Yes.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes. Okay, and then secretary, we have to sign this.
Right, and we also sent a copy of the consent to Ally for her attention, and Dave, you can sign that as chair at your earliest convenience.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good time, Joe.
If you don't mind, I'm going to excuse myself. Good to see all of you, and you have a good rest of your day and a very nice Thanksgiving.
You too, Joe.
Thanksgiving.
Take care. All right, back to where we're started at, get back to our original schedule. And we'll be looking for accounts payable approval. Accounts payable approval has been sent out.
It was sent out and I signed the checks that I needed to sign. If anybody has any questions, we certainly have to address the current accounts payable that we have in front.
Just two quick questions, if I may. That Washington County bridge deposit, we expect that to be deposited for at least 2 years? 2 years plus?
Well, $100,000 put there for them to draw in. It was a condition of the MOU that we provide that up front. Not that they'll look at it, but it's good to have that and make sure we have the money there and they'll draw it down. There's potential based on the cost of it because it's a percentage of the whole contract. Percentage could potentially go over and above that, but we'll see.
And the 2023 pension contribution, that's the full amount for 2023?
Correct.
Technically, it's a discounted amount because we pay it by December 10th. We get a discounted amount of $70.
Yeah.
Well, when you're talking about like Washington counties, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Could be in the millions of dollars. 5% reduction by paying it a month early is pretty good, isn't it, Brian? So I just want to go back through here and make sure that there wasn't anything else we had to talk about. Got it. Okay, roll call, please. Or did I ask for motion to approve?
No.
No,
I need a motion to approve.
yes.
By Craig, second by Brian. Roll call vote, please.
Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Juan Gonzalez.
Yes.
Craig Leggett,
Yeah.
Ginny Sullivan,
Yes.
Tim Robinson,
Yes.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes.
All right, on to the financials, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have before you the balance sheet and the income statement through October 31st, 2023, and the balance sheet obviously has a one point in day and time, October 31st, 2023. I don't have any comments. Well, the only comment I will make is that our operating revenue is not holding up to our operating expenses, but by about 40 grand. So we'll need to find some money next year to make up for that in terms of fees. We'll go over the budget after this, but it is in a deficit. Thankfully, we've moved money over from the CDC. That's 150 of the 188 that you see as non-operating revenue. And that helps shore up our ability to meet our taxes. That's the income statement.
Just if I could point out, the native development application fees have not hit as of October 31st, so they'll hit in November.
Perfect.
I believe it's 27,000.
Nice. So that'll shrink that gap, and probably have some other fees coming in.
So we hope so. And I think that
Some of those fees went off sometimes.
Oh, the operating revenue? The lion's share of it is leasing.
so. I just thought to explain that we have operating income that will come in the rental of the land for probably another year to 2 years. We have to be very cognizant that we have an operating budget without that of somewhere around $400,000. We will need to find a way to bring money in to cover that. And I would almost like to see all that rental income excluded when we look at the operations of the IDA, because realistically, that is a temporary source of income. So we have to make sure that the revenue coming in meets our needs, because it doesn't sound like a lot. We got, I don't remember how much money in the bank, a couple $1 million. When you're eating at $400,000 a year with our responses, we need $400,000 in revenue coming in. And the only source of revenues we have, unless we get another rental, long-term rental that covers some of those fees, is our project fees. So that's where we derive most of our income from. I know most people do that, but I think there's a couple new faces in that need to realize that and understand that. Thank you. So any other questions on it? I'll entertain a resolution to adopt to approve the financial statements. Moved by Brian, second by Jenny. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We have in front of us a proposed budget for 2024. So this is what the Audit and Finance Committee came up with, and the Executive Committee reviewed it. So I'd like to present the budget, and do you want to do the nickel tour?
I can, sure. So we have interest income in the very first page, non-operating revenue anticipated at 47,000. Here's the operating revenue that David was referring to. We don't have anything for non-operating revenue at this point in time, because you'll see canal side lease income is in operating revenue. Probably pull it out. Reflected as, non-recurring, or not non-recurring, but non-operating revenue. But you'll see application fees, canal side lease income make up half of the income we anticipate, or a little less than half. We have rail income, the project fees existing, and project fees new. The new, as Chuck explains it to me, is landing one big deal. And we land a
It's equivalent of a $60 million project or two $20 million projects.
So we do have some big items on the horizon. Hopefully they'll come to fruition in 2024 and drive that revenue.
So-
into your.
If I can interject,
Sure.
no matter where the revenue comes from, we need revenue from projects. We expected a couple large projects to come in this year. It's not coming in this year. There is one that is now questionable, whether it's going to go forward or not. So I think that our mindset has to be is that we need to concentrate on smaller projects, because getting smaller projects is as challenging, but not quite as speculative as some of the larger projects. And that's where we need to drift. And as I said, we have $400,000 worth of revenue going, or expenses going out, regardless of any other income. And we have to meet that somehow or make adjustments.
And then you go over the total income, 755 on the first page, and then we go through the expenses. And you see we have expenses for certain properties, insurance expenses, contractual services obligated to. Comes all the way over to the last page. We have allocated 279,000 to operating expenses. So when we say 400 and some odd thousand, how did you come up with that number if our budgeted expenses are only 280?
Well, let me go back and look at your 280.
No.
I will give you my mental numbers. My mental numbers is payroll itself and benefits is somewhere around 250, give or take 20,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? This does not. Okay.
We have retirement, we have healthcare, we have salary, we have accounting services, we have legal services, which, a lot of times there is some which is offset by project fees or other expenses, but generally it comes out of our pocket. So I'm doing my mental math on it, and I'm thinking 300 to 400. Maybe I'm over optimistic, but I do think we have to have money that is reinvested back in for it. So maybe I'm a little over estimating at 400, maybe it's 300, 350.
You're right. Either way.
Am I better off?
Either way, we need to bring it in.
Yeah.
Project fees.
I have a question on the operating expenses. So for this year, it was 382,000. That was including all of the related grant work engineering, correct?
All the project related for canal side, that's offset by NBRC funds. Either we've received reimbursement or gonna get reimbursement. There is some money in here, which is an accounts receivable that are gonna go against our HUD grant because we haven't got the green light to start billing for that. We have other expenses coming in that may or may not be there, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. With Fast New York, I just want to confuse this. So as it is now, the money we spent for NBRC for our administration, there's a portion for Ally, there's a portion for expenses, there's important interest. There's a portion for regional planning board, all Lobella expenses and their subcontractors. That's all offset. So to me, it's a wash. Because it's not a direct expense to the IDA. It's something we either got paid for or get in accounts receivable.
So we're dropping it to 10,000 next year though, and there's still more engineering to be done.
So what we did, the difference is if you look at the 2024 proposed budget, it took out completely all the grant related activities. This is actually the operating expenses minus everything to go with grants. That's the.
Okay, even though on the 23 it included, now it does not include.
2024 does not. That's why that number dropped from 514,000 to 76.5.
So will we amend budget as we go forward?
Yeah,
Yes, we'll have to, because we have no idea what the outset's going to be until we get our RFP done. So we understand the Fast New York requirements, and if we can take that and what the expenses are related. So yes, we'll have to offset the budget.
and that's comparison will be what the 23 actuals are compared to the 23 budget when you get done. That'll tell the whole story.
I mean, we in we in Washington County don't put grant related expenses till they've been approved and signed off on, and these two haven't been.
Okay.
I would assume that's the same way we'd like to do it here. Sometimes in the budget, there's green light to spend money. You don't get a green light to spend money here unless you know where the revenue is coming to pay for it. We do, because we don't have ongoing expenses, which is one of the challenges when we have to borrow money for any reason. We do not want to first, but you go to a banker and the banker says, where's your ongoing revenue? We have very little ongoing revenue they can project against, like a construction company knows that for the past 10 years, they've done X number of dollars of business and they're projecting X number of dollars of business, or retail store or anyone. So we're a little different category. They have to see where our money's coming from. And we don't know until we get the grants or project fees. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm all set. And I guess if anybody else has any other questions, you're proposing this budget for 2024.
So there was a couple areas that we need to discuss that were brought up. I would ask, well, we can't go into executive session because this is not for per individual, it's overall. I'd ask Chuck and Ellie to leave the room, please, so we have that discussion. Patient.
Why would you leave the room?
You'll understand when we talk about it. And they know, he knows what it is. And my conversation goes is that,
Zoom is still.
well, we're not in executive session.
Should that
I
be?
just don't think we should be talking about,
Wait, it's gonna be live.
that's fine.
They can hear you, can.
Well, I just don't feel comfortable talking about two subjects with people in the room. They can hear it later, but looking at it, there's two things put in place here is that we have a change in terms of looking at what we're doing in terms of benefits, specifically healthcare. And the second thing we talked about was in the budget, we didn't have amounts put in for raises. Okay, so those are two issues that, you know, while they're here later, that's fine, but I just thought people would feel more comfortable with it. When Ally got health insurance, we had a proposal with her is that we would allot her $8,000 for health insurance. She was comfortable in getting that and she stayed under that. She did not have dental and health at the time, dental and vision at the time. She undertook vision through ARCC, which is like $13 a month in terms of that. So if we look at the plans we have and her option is, because we're providing health and dental to everyone else, her option is to take it or not take it. So the question is when we look at it, that would put her over the $8,000. I remember when we made this deal, we weren't considering giving health and vision because that was not her request.
Not health and vision, you mean?
Health and vision and dental.
Yeah, right.
So if we look at the new plan and adding that in, it's about $1,000 more. The second thing is that with Chuck, we're there in total package, looking at where he's providing 20% of healthcare in terms of that. And we found a plan that came in to the needs that we look at. But basically it overrides the budget by about $1,000. And the question here is that I have should we require contribution from all our employees? Would it be different enough? Contribution from both our employees?
Okay.
Or do we want to waive that for one employee, not the other employee? That's a question I have. If we look at the percentage, we're talking about 10% for Ally and 20% for Chuck. They're both different people.
I don't think you can do something for one and not the other. We've opened that can of juice and that's where we gotta be. That's my first thought. Whatever goes for one has to go for the other. We have employees now.
Mhm.
Question is what you just spoke about a few minutes ago. And that is that we don't have a thing that we can turn up so that the more income will come in so that we can afford this. We have to go out, and one of them has to go out and do that. We have to go out and get that. I don't deny that they should get that. My question is, I don't know anymore. How many companies give dental and what's the other one?
Vision,
We do.
You do?
Yeah.
Small company.
we do.
You
The
do?
towns do, the counties
Well,
do,
you would. Your size company. I'm talking about the small size.
the counties do. Most places looking at it, I mean,
We offer, but we don't pay.
What does that mean?
People can pick up dental and vision, but it's out of your own.
You in the county,
so
right?
in honesty, we are committed to Chuck.
Yeah.
We can't commit to Chuck to provide it and not to Ally. We have to be equal there. Whether or not she opts to have, whether or not either employee opts to take it is up to them.
Why would they not take it? But
That's their personal decision, not mine.
Sorry, do they contribute towards, or does Chuck contribute towards it, or are we paying?
Chuck will contribute 20%. Ally, it stands if there's a limit of the $8,000, there would be about 10% she would have to contribute.
10% more than the 8. Okay.
Yes, that's roughly the number.
Are we asking to move her to a percentage and wipe out the $8,000 a year, or?
I would at this point leave the 8,000. Well,
Because if we leave the 8,000, my first question, when was the last time that was reviewed? And we know healthcare loans, premiums are 5 to 15% every year increase.
understood, but when we talked about this, it wasn't including dental and vision. That's a change.
So 8K was just medical.
Yeah, I think that. Leaving it the way it was at the $8,000 and ask if they wanted, they would have to put some money into it.
So let me know what the board thinks. I'm open and I hate to have this conversation, but this isn't something we can have in an executive session.
No, you can't.
So this is new to both or just to one of them?
Just to one. We're committed to one. We're not, this is new to the second
And
one.
you're committed to what degree? The 20%
20%.
that they have to pay?
The 20% that Chuck has to pay. We stay at the level that we had.
Please agree to that.
We agreed to that when we hired.
I'm sorry?
We agreed to that when we hired.
Yeah, right,
So why wouldn't
That's
it
contractual.
both be the same?
right. That's right.
Big
What-
chunk for Ally.
Yeah.
It's a big change for Ellen.
Is it?
And it's like 1,600. She would have to cover.
I mean, she's part-time employee, right?
And 20% if we're looking at it.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's an individual policy.
Individual, correct? But if she decided to bring someone on, that's another discussion.
So do we want to set it as part-time is different than full-time? Is that how we're
We can,
differentiating it?
we can do that.
Well, I'm just, to be uniform going forward.
Mhm.
That's what I was trying to get.
But that's uniform too. I mean,
Yeah.
in First National Bank, there's a difference between full-time employees and part-time employees in these kinds of things.
Or Glensall.
Or what? Glensville is national, I'm sorry. Glensville, yeah. Big companies that, what do you differentiate, don't you? You, my friend Juan.
Part-time.
Yes, so you've got salary and hourly workers, which we have a difference with, and then obviously full-time and part-time are not the same thing.
I don't think that's breaking a rule. I think that's, I mean, I don't want them to be different, but they are.
Right.
You can have different
Yeah,
levels for different people, and that's why I'm introducing it. I don't think the executive committee could make this decision.
you don't think what?
I don't think it would be, I don't think the audit committee or the finance committee is the only one who can make this decision. This is a full board decision.
The reason why, because it impacts the budget that way. So let me ask this question for Chuck at 80% and 20%. Is that for both medical, dental, and vision?
Yes,
And for a full-time employee, our salary, our CEO, are we looking to change that?
that's a separate discussion. That can't be tied to this. This is a policy question.
Right, so. Well, that's the policy, right? Is a full-time employee, a salaried employee, we have one policy. And then for a part-time hourly employee, we have a separate policy. That's what we currently have.
Correct.
That's the way it should work for us.
Is that whatever consensus is?
From my HR perspective, it works, and without multiple conversations, then I so have concerns right now. I guess the question is the dental vision for Alan. And overall, going over the 8,000 amount.
Mhm.
Because the alternative is to, if we do 20% for both employees, then one employee is going to take a $1,500 plus hit. Just because we want to standardize it. That for me is the least of all the options available.
You know, thinking about, not the same, not working anymore. I'm retired. But I'm retired and the county does certain things for me, right? I don't have dental or the other. But I could get it if I wanted to pay for it. Period.
So,
Did they pay a portion of it, or you just pay a portion of it if you sign up?
No, I pay the whole thing. If I wanted to get dental, I had to do it on my own.
You might just well pay your
now
dental bill for it.
let's try and keep this to the idea. All right, let's try and keep the idea, get a discussion about each of our health plans and get lost for 10 hours.
Well, it's not currently dental and vision is currently available for a part-time employee.
Because
Correct.
Chuck's getting it.
But not for a part-time employee. We agreed to contribute 8,000 towards her health benefits.
Mhm.
Or was it specifically for medical? Not?
That time was for medical because we weren't asked to provide dental health.
How much is that policy for the individual? Okay, so Chuck is gonna pay the
$675 a month,
sorry?
$675 a month. It doesn't matter what we're paying for health insurance. What it matters is,
No, but if he takes the vision and dental, he's gonna pay the 20%.
20%, yes.
He's gonna
That's
pay.
the agreement. That's the agreement.
But he is not full-time, he's part-time.
The current agreement is 8,000 for medical.
Correct.
Period.
And what do we pay for medical for full-time?
80%.
So it's 80 and 20 period.
Correct.
And Chuck is family.
Yes. Our total health care for 2 employees is going to be about $35,000, I think it was. I don't think that took into consideration the 20% contribution. So that would reduce it under the budget anyways. So,
That's right.
Or that would reduce your budget.
No, I don't think that was, it's 20% was counted in the budget, just
Right.
the 80%.
But you can take 20% off because he's paying 20% of the of his total.
What do we have in there? I didn't, I don't.
34,500.
So we have year to date at 22,000 for 2023 in October, so. Very much guessing that does not include his 20%. That's right.
No, he was paying his Cobra through Barton. And we were reimbursing him for it.
On the, not the
80%, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever his Cobra was, we were reimbursing him.
8,100 is this year.
So,
What was the total 675 times?
well, he really won't pay.
8,100.
we're not talking about him. Forget him. He's locked in by our agreements.
So that's fine. But the budget number could be reduced by 8,100 because he's paying.
Right. We don't have to worry about that one. We have to worry about what we're gonna do with the other part-time employee, what the policy's gonna be.
He's not a part-time employee now.
We agreed, we're already locked into what he's gonna get, period. We're asking if we're gonna change what we do for the part-time employee.
Right.
That's the only subject discussion right now.
Just want to make sure, because you said he was part-time too.
So,
Mr.
You
Chairman,
didn't mean to say that.
in principle, I always feel that it's good that anybody getting benefit has a share of that benefit, but there is a charge contribution that they apply. As we all know, that when you have, when you're vested in something, you have a financial interest in it, and that you are much more mindful of what goes on. So as a practice, it's always good to be able to have everybody give a portion. I guess, taken from that, then what would the portion be?
when you're talking dental and vision, is it under the same insurance they're with and you're just adding that to the same? Or is it separate?
It's separate,
Because
it's separate.
sometimes those separate ones are,
Not under these plans.
Or what?
The plans they have do not include dental and vision.
right, but like, say our one with the county pays us that $10 towards it and you pay the difference. It.
But we're already locked.
But it's not worth much. But the vision might be a lot more expensive, but usually that's somewhere in our health insurance, those prices doesn't.
For example, at the town of Chester, for an individual right now under CSEA contract, they pay $1,800 a year, $150 a month.
We're not unionized.
No, but just to give a perspective on things, that's for a full-time employee.
And that probably includes vision.
No, it wasn't.
Really? Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to see her get hurt.
You don't want to what?
I don't want to see her get hurt. I don't want to see her leave the organization. I don't want to ding her $1,800.
Right.
We're giving a full-time employee $80, cost. Coverage. So
But she can't afford $80.
that's what I'm saying. We don't do it, right? I mean, that's my opinion. You're looking for a vote, or you're looking for more
I'm
discussion.
looking for just questions.
Is it 1,800 though? Is that what the actual cost would be? I'm not
I
really.
think she
clear. I
will.
don't-
I was trying to get, what's the
I
actual cost?
think she is, if I remember correctly, the number's over by about $1,000.
So
If she took the vision and the.
Correct.
probably about 10.
About 10%.
We're making it available to her. She is a part-time employee, so we shouldn't necessarily be tasked with picking up as much as we would for a full-time employee. We're not dinging her, we're making it available. She doesn't have to take it.
But in essence, you're reducing her salary.
If she takes it.
But she's also, we're also
She's paying it
contributing
all.
towards an insurance coverage that
Say
she
again?
doesn't currently
Right
have.
now, she's paying it all.
Right now, she doesn't have any dental and vision.
So she's paying the full bill. So if she's paying a percentage of the insurance.
She's
Well, this is about his or her, this is about a part-time employee.
But if you don't have dental or vision and you're going to the dentist and the eye doctor, you're
Oh,
paying the whole
yeah.
bill.
I see.
So if you're just paying a portion, it's gotta be better.
If she takes it. Take it, then she's covered. She's the 8,000 covered. Correct?
8,000 covers it, but
It covers her health insurance.
covers it, more than covers the health insurance, we cover a substantial portion of the addition.
That's why you wanted to go to the 8,000. It's gonna need to look later, but that would work.
It's already 8,000. We could raise it and provide
Yeah,
someone
good.
complete health care.
If you're truly looking to provide this benefit to a part-time employee, we do raise it a dollar amount that you you think is fair, but I don't think it has to be equal to what a full-time.
No, I didn't ask for that.
So, maybe it's reasonable to say you pay 8,500 and then she has to pick up the rest. She's at her, you're making it available.
But if you're paying your own dental and vision, it costs you $2,000 a year and the insurance costs $1,000, and you cut it in half, it's a lot.
Anybody that's doesn't have dental vision or anything.
What's,
They're not going. They're not.
she's wearing glasses.
Yeah, no, no, what I'm saying, they're not going to go do crazy.
She currently pays her own vision to ARCC. She does not pay dental insurance to my knowledge.
She pays her own.
But you made your
Vision.
own general expenses.
Right.
That's what he's
But that's not our conversation.
No, that's what he's saying. It's come out of.
Yeah.
You're saving your money either way.
For like 8,500 for.
You're offering a similar benefit. Health, dental, vision that you're offering your full-time employee, but we shouldn't be expected to necessarily contribute as much as we are for a full-time employee, because we're getting, an equal position, we're getting half of the work from a part-time employee.
So in the budget will include $8,500 contribution, total outlay for the IDA for 8,500. Increasing by 500. Is that? Okay, so we make that change to the budget. Second thing is that we didn't cover raises in here. I think that we'll have a discussion that we are with, as we move towards a new chapter in the leadership of the IDA, that Juan will have some presentations to make. And I think that when we do look at evaluations we use, I think Ally's due in April and Chuck is due in September. We'll have those measurement sticks that Juan is proposing, and review that, and the board will accept those. So I think we have to have some measurements here to look at. Okay. So if we do, we look at how much we increase the budget, we'll have to amend the budget at that time.
Or you can do it in a calendar year.
Good.
I would change salary when you change the budget. It's just the best.
But then you've got
So you're
renew.
gonna wait 5 or 6 months to get a raise, so.
No,
But that way, you always fix it in the budget, you don't ever do it. Because you don't know what money's coming in or not coming.
okay. All right. Well, we'll discuss that as it comes up. I think we need to understand the other things first before we make that decision. Okay, would you please ask him to come in?
10 minutes.
I hate to have this conversation, but
Do we need to vote it?
Please.
as we do in the budget, we'll amend the budget. He's gonna change the budget by that amount and go from there.
Oh, sorry. You're all over it.
Well, you're not gonna wanna watch that.
Oh, God.
It was a fairly simple conversation, got complex. Sorry about that. Okay,
Did you hear all that?
there you go, they can listen to it. So, we have the budget in front of us. We did look at amending the contribution by our part-time person. We're currently providing up to $8,000. We have moved that to $8,500. So to cover the new phase from here on in. So that was the end result of what the board came from.
Are we voting on the amendment, or are we just doing that before we vote on the budget?
Did it before we voted on the budget. I think it's already in there. So, okay, I need a motion to approve.
Okay, I know.
Not in here, though.
What?
I'm sorry.
No, pardon?
Right.
So the budget. Am I making a change on the budget then? Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Treasurer,
Yeah, what line item is it? Anybody see it?
Page 3, employee benefits, health insurance.
It's I had yellowed it because you guys were going to discuss it. So look for the yellow on page 3, unless you printed it out in black and white.
35. That's
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'll make that change.
okay, amending it to 35.
Before we the budget shouldn't have the amount that Chuck pays in his 20% either, so that should.
I think that's already out of there.
It's correct, it's net up.
Yeah, net up.
It is,
It
It
is
is
net
net
up.
up, yeah.
that's what, wasn't what you explained a few minutes ago.
No, that's what we're trying to explain. But
We went through it, but
24, the 20, we're specifically talking 2024. Yeah. Remember, Chuck had Cobra and the numbers, now we know what 2024 healthcare is, and that is net. Okay. Next.
Okay,
That's the only proposed change to the budget.
only proposed change to budget.
Yes.
Motion.
Motion by Tim, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jenny and Nick and Brian, all in favor?
Basically,
We're not, this is only budgetary.
huh?
This is only budgetary. Well, it's
Do roll
objecting
call for
thing.
budget.
Pardon?
We should do roll call for budget.
We can.
What's that?
Nick Caimano,
Yes.
Juan Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Jenny Sullivan,
Yes.
Tim Robinson,
Yes.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we're all set on that. The budget's over for another few months. Next step is that report of canal side. Chuck, you want to give that overview since Dan is gone?
I think Juan prepared.
Juan?
Happy to. So for those that are intimately involved with the project, this is gonna be a little review, but for those that we haven't looked at this project since the last board meeting, I'll start there for everybody. 17 October, we did have a canal side bridge replacement meeting. 18 October, another canal side progress meeting with at Favelas. We had an internal meeting in 30 October. We had the executive park meeting on 8 November. 13 November, another internal meeting. 14 November, canal side meeting update. That was funding specific. 16 November, we had a internal canal side wastewater review and next steps meeting. And our next meeting with Labella is on 5 December. So I wanted to go through that just to show you there's quite a bit of chess pieces moving around. We're just about the pre-engineering, about 95% complete. That will be the first item on our 5 December meeting with Labella and the rest of the team. And then the wastewater NPR review will happen after that. We've got draft comments and working towards completion on that. The water NPR review is a little bit more behind. So we haven't got draft comment. We actually haven't got that report yet. So we're working to get that. And then that will lead us into the RFP for the next phase with Fast New York. And we'll also be discussing our 24 schedule and meetings at that meeting on 5 December. But that is the macro view. If anybody would like to dig in, happy to listen and answer any questions. Say that all again. I got it written down.
Say in reverse order.
So where are we really at? We're in the pre-engineering stage.
We're at 95%.
And we have financed what percentage of it with all of it?
95%, whatever. We have about $40,000 left in MBRC.
No, in the whole project, because like we have Fast New York and all that, where are we at funding wise? Do we still need more money to finish the project?
If we get all approvals on Fast New York and HUD, which I'll talk about Fast New York in a minute, we should have enough money to complete the entire project. We don't know what projection is going to be. Construction is 2 years away. We need the final engineering, detailed design done before we can come up with a project cost. And we need to let the bids. So we do have a 30% contingency in the basis of the design reports, which hopefully is enough. But again, until we get into nuts and bolts and get bids in, we don't know.
And interest carrying. Right?
My hope we could, yes. Interest-bearing costs are included in some of that. No, it's in the other. No, interest is not in there. It's a separate line item. Okay. We hope to be able to fund everything until construction costs and not be able to do lease any money. It's going to depend on what the reimbursement terms are, which we really don't know from HUD and from Fast New York. we believe they're quarterly reimbursements, but we don't know that until we sign the documents. And I'll go to Fast New York. Fast New York, we got our letter of award. We have several steps. We have some documentation that came out we have to complete that is more designed towards MBWE requirements and some other things. I've had some discussions with Beth, a little, just a touch about our plan for going forward. They're already working on it. We'll probably have a Zoom meeting next week to discuss it. There's not a heavy lift in those documents. The heavy lift is going to be when our project manager contacts us and says, here's the details of the plan, and here's the details of the award which you have to accomplish. So there's a lot more that we have to know that we won't know until the project manager. We will complete these, then it has to go to complete this documentation, has to go to ESD for review, then it has to go for public comment and public hearings, and then we'll get the final documentation. We did find out there's a $47,000 fee, 1% fee due to ESD at the time of executing the documentation. In other words, when I sign my name off, the contracts are there, everything's in place. That's when that due. I've had some discussions with Beth to figure out, is there a way we can get that some of our other funding? And she's thinking about it. So we'll see. So more to come on that. I hope that answered your question. Just left me with more questions. The more time I talk about this, I get more questions.
It's not a chess pieces, and we're doing a lot of meetings to manage them, so.
So do we need a ban, or we got enough to cover cash?
I think, again, it goes back to how are the reimbursements done? Do we do the reimbursements on time? How long do they take to reimburse? MBRC, you give it to them, it takes them 14 days to get, about 14 days to get in their account. We don't know how long HUD takes to get in our account, even though we submit quarterly reimbursement. Same thing with Fast New York. There's items we don't know. My suggestion is, and we've already talked to Glens Falls National, who is happy once they have the contracts to put that in place, because that way they know they're going to get paid. But until such, we still need to put those in place because it takes time to get a ban. It takes time to get a bond, especially with a public corporation like us who has different things in place.
So did that answer your question about interest? Was it interest on a ban or a bond to cover it?
Yeah, that's a separate line item.
We'll see more as we break those down. They'll be broke down more. Okay. So anything else for canal site tenant activity? They're still there?
Yeah, just 3 quick updates. As you know, we have Everett doing landscaping. That is going well. Now that we're getting through the past growing season, he's going to start focusing on trees until Mother Nature winter doesn't allow him to continue working. The fence project is underway. The poles have been set. The contractor is waiting for them to set a little longer and can continue work on Wednesday. Contractor said he has 2 more days left to be done with the project. So that project should be wrapped up by the end of this month. And then the only thing I'll mention, this is not a big issue, but for you to be aware, we have a neighbor that complained about lights at night. 2 neighbors live across the canal. They're up high, they look over the canal and on the canal side energy park. They expressed concern last Thursday about lights. Myself and someone from Kiewit were there Thursday night. We know what the problem is, and Kiewit has pledged to adjust the lights. The neighbor would not see the lights, so Kiewit's cooperating, and I think we're all doing fine. And that's it for projects and tenant activity, unless there are any questions.
We can correct, so we can all see the light. That's a pretty good deal.
We were hoping they'd see the light. I'm just kidding. CBR contract. CBR contract has expired. We need a permission to renew the contract with CBRE. They have several things going on, but right now, since there's no contract in place, they are sort of in a limbo effect. Contract with CBR is to market the canal side properties.
We're not getting paid unless they have.
That's correct.
Perfect. I'll leave it alone. I'll make
6%. Motion by Brian, do I have a second? Second by Tim and Juan. All in favor? Carried. NPR review, we got a letter from Washington County Sewer District containing it 2 parts. I'll ask for permission to sign this because there's still some things that have to be done. But essentially what they're asking for, and I don't know when we got to do this, but I want to have it in place just in case. They're asking for a deposit in the amount of $11,000 to be deposited with Washington County Treasurer for payment of district's legal and engineering costs, as well as any publication and other costs the district may incur. That is normal for a developer to do, is to provide this information. $5,500 will be for potential legal fees. $4,500 will be for their outside engineer to review the NPR for their requirements. Again, there's a lot of conversation going on with that. I will not commit doing this until we have some few things settled. I have a lot of questions, so, but getting that done has to be done for the extension of the sewer district into that property. And the water will be eventually done too, so. It was sent out there, so you're asking for $11,000 deposit. We will not do that until we have all the questions answered. And maybe delayed further, but just in case. I'd like permission to be able to sign that and do that when that takes place. Any questions? Motion by Juan, do I have a second?
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion, yes.
So for the map plan report.
Mhm.
This is for extension into the,
Sewer district. That canal side.
okay. So are we developing the map plan report?
Bell has done it. We have some questions on it. The questions have not been all answered. The sewer district has some questions. We had questions, and regional planning board had questions, which they've outlined and sent it out. Until we have those nailed down, I don't like to open the door.
So you want, what did I just second? Permission to do what?
Deposit for the sewer district.
I'm not really opposed to it. I just wonder if we shouldn't be all apprised of it before it's signed.
We can tell you when it's signed. The-
It's too late though, for someone of us identified.
But is this going along consistent with Port Edwards map plan report from the development?
It is consistent with the sewer districts. More potential.
Help me out. Is it Port Edwards or is it Washington?
It's Washington County Sewer District,
Washington County.
number 2, to be exact. So, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Community-wide brownfield coalition assessment grant. This is a grant that regional planning board put into place and then submitted. It had to be submitted by 13th, so that was my nunc pro tunc to approve it. This is simply going to be, we're going to help identify potential brownfield areas in Warren, Washington County. And the grant will do the environmental studies and other things to make that a potential reclamation of a brownfield coalition. Our only part will be in helping be the board that's in charge of that. We'll have a member from here, a member from all the IDAs that cover the area. So it's no cost to us, just our expertise and our backing in it. And hopefully that really is in tune with our desire to do economic development in Washington County and Warren County.
And this is the lead on it is like Champlain George.
Correct. They're doing all the work consulting. We're hiring all the consultants and they'll administer and operate the grant.
Resolution for that.
You seconded it for discussion, didn't you? No, that was the other one. I need a motion on this one.
I'll move and then discuss.
Moved by Craig, do I have a second? Second by Brian. What's your discussion?
Right now in the town of Chester, we have a dilapidated one building that has contamination on it. It was identified through a previous brownfield grant that was going through the Warren County EPA grant. And the Department of Justice did phase 1 and phase 2, and it set us up to be able to go forward. The New York State Oil Spill Fund is now going to do remediation on this site, and town is responsible for the demo. And on this 3/4 acre site, we handle it with just, we will now be able to redevelop this valuable piece of property. And it all started with the brownfield grants. So it is a valuable testimony, piece of money here.
So we recommend,
What's your percentage that you figure out of the total that you're gonna end up paying Chester compared to? You said you had to come up with the demolition.
Right.
So it's peanuts compared to the other lawyers now.
It takes the whole risk out of it. That council advises not to take over property that has.
Right.
Yeah. So nobody was going to take over this piece of property. The owner has no ability to do anything more with it. So it's saved by the property until it went into tax foreclosure. The county then does.
We won't take them in our county.
we won't take them.
You know, well, we have the spill fund, that's, you know, which no longer is applicable because we have no more profit from our property sales. So we have nothing more to contribute into that fund. So all the more important then to
be
do
in
this.
to be a program.
Yeah.
In Warren County, we identified a group of properties in Salem. They're all owned by the same party. That is an extension of the downtown. But also that's where they're considering putting their wastewater plant. So it was a good use of it. We had some other places in Greenwich, but we found Greenwich was already in the BOA. They've got their own BOA, so we had a short time to figure them out and happen like that. So,
But these are the only way to get back.
Mhm.
To me, and
so any other questions on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Board meeting scheduled. Project management discussion. I've got to go back to one thing. Project management discussion. If you noticed, Juan is looking at the canal side, sort of spearheading that. He and Dan are sort of spearheading that. I'm looking at this as an education process for Juan. There's a lot that went down in there. And I think him getting nuts and bolts in it with Dan will really give him a good education what's going on. I could spend 10 years and not give him the experience and education needs by his learning while I'm around to help and coach him. So that's the reason for that. We do have coming up the bridge thing, which we'll have a discussion about what we're going to do with that in the same sort of avenue. But want to sort of spread the responsibilities around. I'll take them off my back as we sort of transition out for the next X number of months. Going back to the budget for a second, we did have discussion. We did not put money in there for raises. We did that because Juan is going to be presenting a review type form and goals and things to look at in the review process. He's going to be presenting that to the executive committee and see what they think and have it going up there. But I agree, we need to put, now that we're having more employees, and Juan, you might want to explain it more than I do. This is something you recommended and you're going to present to the board, so you might want to explain it a little bit more.
Sure, no, easily, put down the board to sit on the CEO goals for any year are vital, in order to ensure that the CEO knows what the board wants and vice versa as well. And this process is best when the CEO is involved, and we're going to be taking that over here in the next couple of executive meetings and board meetings. And now that we've got almost a full year, half a year, quarter of a year with Chuck, now that he's going into his first full year with the IDA, having goals early in the year is going to be critical to his success and our expectations. So that's where we're at. Questions?
Here's what giving out comment. I welcome this. This is great. This is what I'm used to doing pre-IDA. It's a great way to manage an organization. So very much appreciative of it.
So.
Does that include me as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Can't do one for the other. You got to treat all employees the same.
Your goals will be harder, obviously, so.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you that,
Bring it.
I can tell you for 3 months I did her job. I almost hung myself. It's a good thing tax season wasn't there. They had to do tax season. So I think it's on the white press. I will say that my plan is still to step down. And I've talked to Juan about this. My plan still is do that. My concern is that I want to make sure that we get the Fast New York signed off on. The continuity of that is important. And just because they announced it in the paper doesn't mean that there's not a lot of strings there. You can ask Beth how many projects have been pulled, funding's been pulled for projects, because we weren't watching that. And it's not that all that confidence in anyone. I'm going to start shifting things over and we're going to discuss a plan to do that. But until we get Fast New York and all the financing locked up, we need to stay the course. It's my opinion. I will be transferring a lot of things off my plate. So I'll still be around, guys. Okay. Okay.
Jerry.
And put a filter around Nick.
I would be very sad if we lost the funding, to say the least. So would everyone else. 2024 meeting schedules are in front of you. I do have a suggestion that you might consider. Is generally we have a holiday party in December after our board meeting. However, we did it in Warren County because there was a couple places close we could go to. In Washington County, we're finding out there's nothing, so we're delaying it to January. I would float out. Nope, not on Monday nights. Monday or Tuesday nights. I would float out that we switch November 18th and December 16th meeting places and have 2 in Washington to meet our party holiday schedule. It's up to you guys if you want to do that or not, and then be on the schedule so we can have something, because we do invite a lot of people that are integral to our operations. Just a suggestion. You can lynch me if you don't like it.
And that's for next year.
Next year.
So 18th, 16th, November 18th, 16th, all places in Washington.
Correct. November 18th in Washington, and then we go back to the regular schedule of Warren County. And I can't remember how we got off on that, but we did.
Oh, you mean back in January 2025?
So January 16th.
January 2025, we go back to the regular schedule where Washington was in January. January in 2025, the schedule would then start off the year with Washington County. And we alternate every county after county up that. I don't remember why we did that.
So
I don't know.
Had to be COVID related.
We must have started off with like a different. Probably.
January 16th. Where are we?
2024, we're in Warren County. January 2025, if we make this change, we would be in Washington County in January.
Because what we do in December? December 16th.
Would be Warren County. We'd have 2 months in Washington and then back to Warren County.
Next year.
So we're talking October, November in Washington, and December we did one.
Now you want to change it?
Yeah, I agree with both, but I do expect 13 months worth of party favors.
Well, I don't want to say anything, but some attorney owes me about 7 parties. Just because I'd say this would happen, and she said, no, it's not. And I said, put a party on it.
Your dude got carried away or whatever.
Yes,
We were
yes.
all getting up to go and get a second round.
And that's after you gave them a nice traffic, right?
Yeah.
It is a beautiful venue.
They did a great job. I need a motion to adjust the schedule as we discussed. October Washington, November Washington, December Warren.
I got a question on that. Why wouldn't you Why wouldn't you just hold the December meeting on a different day of the week? So you could go back and forth. Is that a problem?
I'm not sure I follow it.
Like you could have it on like a Wednesday and then in
Yeah.
Washington County,
When they're
and
open,
there would be something open in Washington County.
well, that's right next door. I mean, it would make more sense. You're gonna get ill will from Washington County.
Yeah.
Board members.
I think we need a subcommittee to figure this one out.
I mean, just switch the day of the December meeting. And why do
So
you
we
want
have all
to-
year to
You
plan
don't
for
need to
that.
cause a problem.
So I will tell you that we have, in our bylaws, states our meetings are on the
Every
first,
other month.
every third Monday. Doesn't say where.
But you could, but you could change like the December meeting when it's Washington County.
We would have to do that by board resolution.
And it could be done, but you got a year. So you could do it any
Got a year to work at it.
I'm just saying that you're gonna cause a bigger problem than it's worth having.
Where are you proposing said party to be? So curious.
Well, if,
I've
The
never
apple
seen
was
it
the
in
old-
Washington.
if the apples.
It's never been in Washington County to my knowledge.
It's never been in Washington County.
Oh, I,
Never.
Ally and I looked up almost every
Never done.
place we
There
could think
was
of.
nothing,
There was
yeah.
nothing open.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah,
No, I believe that too. The apple's open, they're just not open on Monday.
yeah, right. And that's the issue we came across.
only
with a
restaurant
couple other
in the county.
places.
Interestingly enough, they weren't open yesterday, last night when we went by either. I don't know what's happening at the end. Would be just all around the end.
Yeah.
We're talking about dinner, it's waiting for us. Oh,
Yeah,
And someone's getting hungry, aren't they?
so if it requires a board resolution to change the day of the week, I'm more in favor of just swapping these.
We never had it in Washington County before. It's always been Warren County where there's more than one location to go to, which is why last year we switched to the carriage house
yeah.
because the dockside was closed for some reason. Or had something else going on.
Actually, they reduced their hours too.
They're closed Tuesday,
Exactly.
Wednesday.
Yeah. Everybody's-
But we have more options in Warren County than we do in Washington County. We're hoping that the ambulance stays open on those nights. We'll change that. We'll have a summer party also.
US Congress.
What's the pleasure of the board? I agree. I'm getting hungry. My supper's in the,
Let's adopt it as stated. We have almost a whole year to change.
You know, they
Yeah,
just ran out
there
of
you
the
go.
Sonic Temple and any raise it's been to cater.
Yeah.
They're just too watching.
you provide a bar.
It's everybody's on the way home from Northridge.
You know, I agree, Jenny, but we don't really have formal meals. We just have
Alcohol.
alcohol. I was gonna say alcohol, but we also have more appetizers than anything else. It's not really a meal. And expensive having a caterer is gonna be
Okay,
up there.
And more complicated,
next
okay.
year when it comes up.
Switch
we'll
the
vote
meetings
on it.
around.
Do I have a motion on, which motion do we have?
So let's switch the
The
meetings
original.
around.
I will second you.
October, November in Washington, December in.
Warren. We have a lot of more people from Warren County come to that dinner.
And Ally, if you could please send a revised schedule. once you
Absolutely.
do
Yes,
that,
I
that would
will.
be helpful.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you.
Actually, you could send out a whole outlook invitation.
Yeah.
2024
Okay.
holiday schedule is presented for your review.
Just press a button. You have it.
All right, let's go. What else?
Executive Park Committee is presented. We need a motion on that? I need a motion to adopt the Executive Park Committee schedule.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Juan, second by Tim. It's always held in the same place. We're all set on that.
On the first Monday, so.
Yeah. You have board evaluations in front of you. Please complete those. As Juan pointed out, only 6 people responded last year. Please do it. We have to report these to ABO. And it only takes a second. If you can do that in 10 minutes. Okay,
Brian and Tim, I also have paper copies if you prefer that version.
I need a motion for Yankee Marine tax extension.
Extension.
Extension through
Extension.
December 31st,
December 31st.
2024.
I'll move.
Moved by Jamie, do I have a second? Juan, all in favor? Done. Staff report?
Okay, I'm gonna be quick. I have 25 items. I'm gonna try to go through about 5. So just a little bit sequential, but back in October 18th, Ally and I met with Oregon Fire on our cybersecurity. So we are doing quarterly cybersecurity meetings. On the 20th of October, Craig and I actually attended the Adirondack Common Ground Alliance annual forum at Floor Mountain Ski Area. We both spent a lot of time in the housing forum. So I'll just leave it at that for sake of time. Good conference, good cross representation. On October 24th, Warren County EDC had lunch at the Carriage House. Very well attended, great speakers. Fortunately, we did not get any recognition for what we did for the Carriage House. That's another topic for another time. I'm going to work on that. Yeah, I did too. On October 26th, the chairman and I met with a large manufacturer to discuss business investment opportunity. More to come. Manufacturing, yes. On the 2nd of November, the ARCC had State of Warren County seminar, and very, very well done. Good dialogue versus the budget and tourism. On November 6th, Chairman and I met, and Ally met with Berkshire Hathaway Commercial Real Estate. They are from the Albany area. They have some business interests up here, and it's a bit of a relationship building for them to understand us and us understand them. Maybe someday we'll do business together. A bunch of us attended on the 7th of November, the ARC Economic Outlook Breakfast with the MBT economists. Very interesting as usual. On the 7th, the chairman, Ally, and I met with a large landowner looking to develop property in Cambridge. More to come on that. There's still a long runway in there for that project. Then on the 8th, I attended the ARC Business Expo. Again, very well attended. Talk about that. On the 15th of November, had a conference called Canadian Pacific Kansas City Railroad. They're very interested in our canal side location for some large ag movement. They're working through their development group. More to come on that. Also, and then on the 16th, I attended the Lake George Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau monthly meeting, just out of curiosity to learn what the group does. Very data driven, very well attended, and I think they make a meaningful impact for tourism here in Warren County. In the room is 3 of our clients: Adirondack Winery, Home 2 Hilton, and SUNY Adirondack. On the 16th, I had lunch with representatives M&T Bank, who have several projects that involve us, including one we talked about earlier today with the bond resolution that we passed earlier. And then this past Friday, I had lunch with the CEO of the Hyde Collection, talking about development along the Warranty Corridor. And they are ending their bond with us this year, and they're going to be doing additional fundraising, and whether or not they'll need another tax-exempt bond to be determined, but we did talk about that. So with that, that's my report out, unless there are any questions.
So, any questions for Chuck? So I did want to get back to big projects we talked about. It was not lack of effort on the IDA's part to get those projects signed. It was external influences that took things, that complicated the approval processes of both projects. So I mean, West Mountain was one of them. They're very complicated, and there's things being done and reviewed, and there's a lot of has to overcome. We hope it takes place and starts in 2024, but we don't know what the approval processes are going to be and how they're going to get through their approval processes. There are a lot of people in favor of it. There's a lot of concerns about it. But everything that's happened is out of our control. Period. So I didn't mean to say that was there. That's a problem with big projects. A lot of stuff is out of our control. There's one project we expected way back in June that may come on board in December. The same thing. It's only like a $10 million project, but it was approvals and projects and so anyhow.
Mr. Chairman, I did forget to comment about our pipeline of projects. We have 4 applications underway. Might receive one in December. Other ones we expect to filter over to 24. We have 7 applications pending other issues that the applicant is working on. We have 13 exploratory applicants, and we have 18 that are inactive. And that's it, unless there are any questions.
Okay. Getting late for educational moments. Juan wanted to do up front, but I have another idea what we're going to do. Karen and I are going to talk about something I had in mind in doing. So we need to get back to them. We had so much topic on here and so much discussion on that. I didn't want to put that up front because we would have pushed another 15 minutes on the other end. And Brian would be chewing on the desk. You weren't that late.
I could have been.
Public comments? Any public comments? We are adjourned. Thank you.
We still have
CDC.
Oh, do we need CDC?
Yes, we do.
I need to call the CDC to order. You have the same applicants here. Where's the CDC agenda?
Are you here? The roll call?
I can do roll call again real quick for
Okay,
CDC.
where's the CDC?
How about we do that just
The CDC agenda.
real quick? Okay, CDC attendance, Nick Caimano.
Here.
Ron Gonzalez.
Here.
Craig Leggett.
Here.
Ginny Sullivan.
Here.
Tim Robinson.
Here.
Brian Campbell.
Here.
Dave O'Brien.
Here.
We have a quorum, 8 out of 10.
I need approval of the October 16th CDC board meetings. Do I have a motion on that one? Juan, second by Nick. All in favor? Opposed? 2024 budget will be put to the floor exactly as it was handed out. No discussion.
Not a lot to it.
Yep. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Meeting schedule, I'd ask for a motion that mirrors the IDA schedule. Motion by Tim, do I have a second? Second by Brian. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Anything else come before the committee?
Financials review.
Review of financials. No, review of financials. Tim, review of
Anybody have any
financials.
questions on the financials? It was 653,000. What? You mean the current assets?
Yeah. And the total checking savings we got.
Yeah, there's been a change since that. The bottom line number is still correct, but balance sheet does have an adjustment because we did receive interest. But what is that? That's the money we received from.
The CD.
CHP. Money for CHP, the $2 million payment came through the CDC.
Because all that money is coming through the CDC.
Correct.
Moved a little bit over to
Mhm.
the 150 and then again
Remove 600,000.
600,000.
Right, but the interest, $13,207 was from the interest of having the CD, and that remained in the CDC account. So only the 600,000 moved to the IDA. CDC kept the interest.
Okay,
Fair enough.
all right. Motion. By Tim, second by Craig. Any further discussion? Yes, Brian.
So wouldn't be, it'd only be a one-time deal, but if you were worried about operations, you couldn't replace it for operations.
Yeah, so there's ton of money, it's just.
Ton of money. The reason is that the CDC, we couldn't invest in the ICS funds. We had to move it out of the public corporate, the
Right.
private corporation into the IDA.
I remember that. Making sure you're-
We do. We have, probably about 10,000 in max expenses there.
You know, going back to what you said earlier about the things in the pipeline, whatever, you're always gonna have delays. So as long as you have enough stuff in the pipeline and they happen eventually, we should be fine. They don't have to happen in the actual calendar year that you started. Because the ones that roll over will be in next year's, and the ones that are making next year will be the years after.
Yeah, as long as you're working on it.
As
You
long
can't,
as you
you
got them in the pipeline,
can't,
go.
you can't just assume they're gonna show up.
Right, you just have to keep working and plugging along and you'll get there.
And that's what he's doing.
Yeah. So therefore, I think the operations will take care of itself in due time and we're successful. we'll show it. Yeah.
That's the theory. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.